So I'm running for district attorney because the criminal justice system is completely broken. We are spending so much on our prison system that we virtually bankrupt the state. At the same time, 7 out of 10 people coming out of prison return within 3 years. So what we have is an incredibly expensive failure. And it's gotten so bad the Supreme Court has declared it unconstitutional. So we clearly need to completely overhaul the system. And in order to do that, we need somebody who knows how to reform the system to make it both more efficient and to make it more fair. And that's exactly what I've been doing for the last 20 years. I started my career at Legal Services for Children. At Walden House Adolescent Facility was my very first job, counseling at-risk kids and helping them turn their lives around. After graduating from Stanford Law School, that's when I worked at Legal Services for Children, providing free legal services to low-income kids. So I started my career in community-based and advocacy organizations. I've also worked for some of the leading criminal justice reform organizations in the country, the National Council on Crime and Delinquency, where during the Clinton administration, I helped write the book on alternatives to incarceration for juveniles for the Clinton Justice Department. And later I worked for the W. Haywood Burns Institute for Juvenile Justice, Fairness, and Equity, which focuses on the overrepresentation of youth of color in our juvenile justice system and how we can change policies and practices to make the system fair for all youth. I then moved on to the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice and the San Francisco Police Commission, where I helped bring national best practices to San Francisco law enforcement. And finally went to the Berkeley Center for Criminal Justice, which I founded at Berkeley Law School with a mission of bringing law enforcement and community together to build collaboration around pragmatic criminal justice reform. That's really what my entire career has been about, and that's what this entire campaign is about. And now how am I going to do that? Really focusing on what works. And some of the things that we know work, number one is youth. If we can keep young people from going into the adult criminal justice system, that's the best long-term investment we can make to make us safer. So I've put out a policy paper, The Safest Generation, focusing on making juvenile the top priority in my office and starting a restorative justice program in the juvenile justice system. Another thing that we know works is finding jobs for people coming out of prison. Right now with realignment, which is coming on October 1st, where we'll have more and more folks who previously went to state prison for short periods are now all going to be sent back or staying here locally. We need to help people get jobs when they're reintegrating so that they can have a successful reentry into our society without committing more crimes. And I have experience at Berkeley. I led a statewide project that brought together an incredibly diverse group of people, from formerly incarcerated advocates to the Prison Guards Union and everyone in between, to come up with consensus-based reforms on that issue. I've also focused on best practices to reduce violence in our communities throughout San Francisco. And when you talk about what works, you have to talk about what doesn't work. The death penalty doesn't work. I will not seek it under any circumstances. I've been clear and unequivocal about that my entire career and this entire campaign. When I look at a policy issue, I ask myself 3 questions. Does it make us safer? Is it cost effective? And is it fair and equitable? The death penalty does not make us safer. It is not a deterrent to crime. It does not increase public safety. It is not cost effective. We would save $1 billion over 5 years if we took everyone on death row, put them in life in prison without the possibility of parole, so they're never getting out. Public safety is completely protected, but we'd have $1 billion to spend on things that actually make us safer, like more services in our community, more teachers in our schools. And lastly, it's not fair and equitable. If you're a person of color, you're far more likely to get the death penalty than if you're not. So I will not seek it under any circumstances because it does not work. Now, my campaign has, I'm incredibly proud that we have over 2,000 public supporters, individuals and groups all over the city, from every single neighborhood of the city, and from law enforcement and from community groups. I have an incredibly diverse coalition, and that's really what I'm most proud of, is the diversity of the coalition. Let's start with, say, the teachers. I have both the Teachers Union, UESF, and AFT 2121, the Community College Professors Union, and as well as 6 of the 7 school board members. There's 1 school board member who isn't endorsing anyone. I have all of the other 6, as well as 3 members of the Community College Board. Now, why are these folks drawn to a DA campaign? I think it's because I talk about investing in schools rather than prisons, and because of my focus on rehabilitating youth and helping them turn their lives around. So I have a lot of support in the education community. I have support from community-based and nonprofit organizations throughout the city, particularly in our high-crime areas. Not from the organizations themselves, of course, because they're 501c3s, but from the executive directors and staff at those organizations that I come from and that I've worked with my whole career. On my website, again, we list the full list of over 2,000 supporters where you can see everybody. I also have a lot of law enforcement support, most significantly Sheriff Michael Hennessy. And the reason that is so significant to me is because you'll recall over 30 years ago when Michael Hennessy first ran for sheriff, he was from outside law enforcement. He had never been a sheriff. In fact, he was a legal services attorney. He was a prisoner rights attorney. He was elected and now is widely regarded as the most effective sheriff in the entire country, and having been reelected 8 times, the most popular politician in San Francisco. He was the right reformer at the right time then. I'm the right reformer at the right time now, and I'm incredibly honored to have his support. I also have the support of former Chief Heather Fong, former Chief Tony Rivera, the California Police Chiefs Association, and over 30 current and former members of the San Francisco Police Department. I have worked closely with law enforcement, and while they may not agree with all of my views, for example, on the death penalty, they see me as fair and reasonable and will help me implement my vision for reform, and you need to have them on board in order to do that.